If you followed NASCAR in the past 5 or 6 years, you have probably heard of Bubba Wallace. Wallace every year makes some sort of headline, whether good or bad. But with the amount of media attention he gets, you would think that he is a top 5 to 10 driver in the series. But this simply has never been the case. Since Bubba has gotten to the Cup Series, we have seen glimpses of greatness, but other than these glimpses, his career has been riddled with mediocrity and disappointment. So today, we're going to talk about Bubba Wallace and why 2025 could be make or break. Now before we start talking about where Bubba is now, I think it's important to revisit his past in the lower series. Wallace ran his first full-time Truck Series season in 2013. His 2013 rookie season was really solid. Wallace recorded 5 top 5s and 12 top 10s with a 12.6 average finish, and actually got his first career win at Martinsville in the fall. Wallace finished the year 8th in points, solid for a rookie, and was actually ahead of his experienced teammate Joey Coulter. Wallace would return to the 54 truck for the 2014 season, and he had a breakout year. In 2014, Bubba won 4 races, and late in the year was actually a dark horse championship contender. But an engine failure at Texas would derail his season, and he would eventually end the season 3rd in points behind 3-time Truck Series champion Matt Crafton and future Cup champion Ryan Blaney. 2014 was without a doubt a step in the right direction, but in 2015, Wallace decided to not stay in trucks another year and decided to move into the Xfinity Series with Roush Fenway Racing. In Wallace's rookie season, he recorded 3 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and an 11.8 average finish. Bubba went winless in his rookie year and only recorded a best finish of 3rd, and ended the season 7th in points. Bubba had a solid rookie year and looked like a solid building block for his career. But in 2016, the sophomore slump would hit Bubba hard. He regressed to 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s with a 15.7 average finish, and he finished the season 9th in points. In 2017, Bubba would return for his 3rd season, but his season would get cut short after 12 races despite being 4th in points and being on pace for his best season yet. Wallace's 2017 season would get cut short due to sponsorship issues and Roush not being able to fund the 6th car anymore. But Wallace would get another opportunity, but this time in the Cup Series. Eric Almirola would be injured in a horrific crash at Kansas, and Richard Petty would call Bubba Wallace to fill in for him for 4 races in the 43 car. In the 4 starts he made, Bubba had finishes of 26th, 19th, 15th, and 11th. Not bad for someone's first handful of starts. And with Almirola leaving RPM to go to Stewart-Haas Racing to take over for the departing Danica Patrick, Bubba Wallace would be put in the 43 car for 2018. So in 2018, Bubba would be promoted to Cup with Richard Petty Motorsports, who were switching from Ford to ECR engine and Chevrolet. And to say the least, the season was an absolute disaster. Bubba only recorded 3 top 10s and 8 top 20s, with his best result being 2nd in the Daytona 500. Bubba had a horrid 2018 season and finished 28th in points, but it was his rookie season, so it might get better in 2019, but it simply didn't. Bubba was about the same and only had 1 top 10 all year, which was a 3rd place finish at the Brickyard, and had 7 top 20s, and his average finish was almost the exact same. With a couple of disastrous seasons under his belt, Bubba needed to have a good 2020 season, and to start, it was looking really good. In the first half of the season, Bubba recorded 3 top 10s, 10 top 20s, and had an 18.9 average finish, and was sitting in 19th in points. But in the second half, Bubba only had 2 top 10s and 4 top 20s, and ended the season 22nd in points. With Bubba making headway in the sports industry, he received a lot of sponsorship from big companies such as DoorDash, Cash App, Columbia, and some other minor companies. With all this media attention and sponsorship, Bubba would land with Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan in the 23 car for the newly formed 23XI Racing. In 2021, expectations for the 23 car were all over the place. Some said he would make the playoffs, some said he would finish 30th in points. But in 2021, Wallace was just mediocre. While getting a rain-shortened win at Talladega in the fall, he only got 2 other top 10s, 16 top 20s, and a 19.7 average finish, and finished 21st in points, 1 spot better than the year prior with RPM. In 2022, his team 23XI would expand to 2 cars, opening the 45 car for Kurt Busch. In 2022, Wallace started the season horribly, only having 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 7 top 20s, and a horrid 22.1 average finish, and was sitting 25th in points after 13 races. But in the second half, Bubba would improve, and at Kansas would get his second career win, and this felt like a turning point in Bubba's career. But this was masked just a few weeks later by him turning Kyle Larson head on to the outside wall at Las Vegas. Bubba ended 2022 with 1 win, 5 top 5s, 10 top 10s, and finished 19th in points. 2023 was a season that saw improvement from Bubba. Bubba made the playoffs for the first time in his career. In the playoffs, Bubba made it to the round of 12 but was eliminated in the same round. Bubba recorded a career high in laps led and average finish, and this looked like a good building year for the 23 team. But in 2024, with the field getting more competitive and some surprise winners, Bubba would miss the playoffs and ended the season 18th in points. Now back to why I'm making this video. For me personally, I have always seen Bubba as just a mid and average driver. To prove my point, let's look at some historical data. We're going to go back to his days in the Xfinity series. His Xfinity tenure with Roush, Bubba was just average. In 2015, he was okay for a rookie, but he didn't win, which was kind of disappointing considering that teammates Chris Buescher, Elliott Sadler, and Ryan Reed combined for 3 wins. Also, Buescher won the championship that year over future Cup champion Chase Elliott. In 2016, Bubba regressed and had a stat line very similar to Ryan Reed, and was actually beaten by Ryan Reed in the standings. Keep in mind, Reed was someone who was in that Roush seat because of the Lilly Diabetes sponsorship money, and Reed raced at Roush for 5 years and accrued a total of 2 wins. Bubba's Xfinity career is very underwhelming and should have been a red flag to Cup owners. Now some people say, well, Roush was declining at this time. No, it really wasn't on the Xfinity side of things. Chris Buescher won the championship in 2015, and in 2016, Ryan Reed had his best season ever, which to be fair really isn't saying much. Now his Cup tenure. In his 3 years with Richard Petty Motorsports, he was simply underwhelming. In 3 years, 3 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 34 laps led, and a 23.2 average finish. While in Almirola's tenure from 2014 to 2016, Almirola recorded 1 win, 5 top 5s, 14 top 10s, 27 laps led, and a 20.8 average finish. Also, Almirola was relatively close to making the chase on merit in 2015 and finished 17th in points. Bubba disappointed in this ride, especially when Almirola proved that car to be a fringe top 20 ride. But Bubba finished 28th, 28th, and 22nd with it. In 2021, with YouTubers like Iceberg saying that he would make the playoffs and Michael Jordan saying the cringe line of "we don't sign paychecks to losers," expectations were really high. But I'm gonna be honest, the season ended kind of how I thought it would. Bubba being mid-pack for much of the year and improving over the course of the season. In 2022, this is where, for me at least, some red flags popped up. In 2022, 2311 expanded to 2 cars with an aging Kurt Busch being put in the new 45 car. And Busch ended up winning the 13th race of the season while Bubba was hanging around 23rd in points. While Bubba did finally win later that year at the second Kansas race, it was quickly masked by what he did just a few weeks later. Bubba was nowhere close to the playoffs in 2022, and let's be real, in 2023, he would have been nowhere close to a playoff spot if Elliott and Bowman weren't injured. And I predicted correctly that he wouldn't make the playoffs in 2024. But in 2024, Bubba will not make the playoffs. In 2023, if Elliott and Bowman hadn't been injured, Bubba wouldn't have been close to playoff contention. And in 2024, I don't think Bubba will regress performance-wise, but I just think the competition will be a bit stiffer and cause him to miss the playoffs. People were relentless in the comments, calling me a hater, but guess what? I was right. Now in 2024, people were saying how impressive his playoff push was. And yes, while he was running better in this time, we shouldn't have even been talking about him having to make a playoff push. We should have been talking about him already having a win and how far he would get in the playoffs. But Bubba was never close to a win all year long, and people were saying if this and if that. No. Bubba simply didn't get it done, and what made this look even worse was the fact that his teammate Tyler Reddick made the Final Four. My main criticism of Bubba is his lack of a good prior resume and him constantly getting outperformed and outran by his teammates, whether it's Ryan Reed, Kurt Busch, or Tyler Reddick. Bubba just seems as if he can't get over that hump, and for that, he will always just be mid to me. And what makes this even worse is the fact that he has been outran by both an old Kurt Busch and Tyler Reddick, despite the team being built around him. Also, people ask me why I'm critical of Bubba and not of Alex Bowman. Look, Alex Bowman is the 4th best driver on his team. That's no doubt about that. But the difference between him and Bubba is the fact that Bowman has made the playoffs every year except 2023, where he was injured, and he's usually good for a win every year. Bubba has not won since 2022, and in 4 years of being in top equipment has only made the playoffs once. Now remember the video where I ranked every Cup driver from 34th to 1st, and I said this about Bubba? For Bubba Wallace. Now Bubba hasn't been bad in 2024, but he hasn't been necessarily good either. He has regressed slightly from last season and is looking like a long shot for the playoffs. He is not showing any speed, while his teammate Tyler Reddick is consistently running top 10, showing speed, and contending for wins. I still stand by what I said, and every comment on that video said, "Bubba is too low, you're retarded," even though I made a very valid point to back up my claim. But that's the beauty of opinion. Everybody thinks theirs is the right one. Now I don't want to sound like a Bubba hater, but I think all the criticisms I brought up today are valid, and they bring up many red flags. But I don't want to be overly negative in this video, so I will say this. Bubba has a new crew chief, Charles Deneke. Deneke was the crew chief for Christian Eckes this past year in trucks, and Eckes just turned in an all-time great truck series season. So Bubba should improve. I think the goal for Bubba in 2025 should be to win 2 races, come close to making the round of 8, and be closer to Tyler Reddick. If Bubba cannot accomplish this, and he misses the playoffs and fails to win a race once again, I think 23XI needs to start looking elsewhere for a new driver. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Thank you to my channel members, and I will see you next week for a new series coming to the channel.